Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy Young Falcon here, and today we're reviewing the brand new game, RWBY GrimmEclipse. Does it hold up to the standards everyone wants it to, or does it fall flat as a brand new beat 'em up? Let's find out. So, RWBY GrimmEclipse is an interesting beat 'em up that is the most poorly optimized game I have played on the PC, and consoles. I hope you guys have it somewhat better, considering some of the things I've seen about your guys' frame rate dipping into the low 30s when it should be a 60 FPS running game is honestly ridiculous. Now, to be completely honest with you, before we get into technicalities and all that, I'm just going to start the game with the story, gameplay, all that stuff before we hop into some of my problems with it itself. So let's start with the story. Basically, you guys are Team RWBY or Team Juniper, going through a variety of levels and working your way up to uncover some sort of mission and secret that the team is on, and you take down the bad guy and you move on, and along the way you defeat Grimm, open doors, etc. So it's a pretty alright story. It's actually pretty bad. Nothing big happens in it. It's just kind of meh. It gets kind of rushed, and everyone has a couple of one-liners to spout. It's an alright story to say the least. Nothing to write home about, but again, nothing that I really care for at the same time. The dialogue is alright at best. Voice acting is again pretty decent. Nothing crazy going on here, but it's a pretty good time overall. I honestly did not mind my time with the story part of this game. It was just lackluster and mediocre, considering they hyped it up as like a brand new RWBY storyline that you guys have to experience, and I'm like, but where is it? You know what I mean? On top of that, the game story takes you an hour and 30 minutes to beat, which is ridiculous. I wish they did a better job of that, but they didn't. So yeah, alright. Regardless, I'm gonna give the story a 4 out of 10. Lackluster dialogue, just misses a lot more than hits, and it just doesn't feel well thought out. It feels kind of rushed, and it's not necessarily something I really wanted from a brand new RWBY game. And I figured with it being ported to consoles, they'd at least improve a lot of things, but I guess they just kind of did a PC port thing and it didn't get improved much. Well, let's talk about gameplay. Gameplay is a mix between satisfying and why am I playing this. It's janky, but refined at the same time, if that makes any sense, but mainly janky. The game's rolling options and maneuverability in the dodging department is super duper responsive, and that's a good thing, but it's too effective. I mean, you can roll your way through this entire game and you'll be fine. You press LB to roll on your 360 joypad, and you can basically dodge everything the enemy throws at you. Now, they also added a counter in the game to disrupt enemies' attacks, but certain enemies have counters and certain enemies don't. And this is where things start to get repetitive. Punching the first couple of Grimm feels satisfying because you take them out with relative ease, but as the game goes on, about towards the end of the first mission, you realize the repetitive nature. Basically, game levels consist of getting to one area, fighting, after you finish that, getting to another area and fighting, and then, guess what? You reach an area, and there's a wave mission. Whether you're defending a generator, trying to push a payload, or anything of that nature, you have 4 waves, sometimes possibly more than that, depending on your mission standpoint, of enemies you have to fight. That increasingly get difficult, but overall, it varies. Some waves are extremely easy, and some waves are just extremely difficult for no reason. The enemies have decent variety. You have your normal grunts, Beowulfs, and Ursas. Now, these guys are interesting. You also have exploding Grimm on you with their own variations, but honestly, they're not too hard to take down. I think they just needed a reason to use the shooting mechanic, which you don't use much. Combos combo into each other alright. There's light, heavy, and a shooting attack, or a ranged attack in this case. And it doesn't work well with the ranged attack. Combos feel alright, but they get stale, and there's not really a way to upgrade those combos. You know, increase the chain. It's just standard and basic. It actually makes me a little bit mad. There's nothing to increase it, nothing to make it better, and nothing to progress gameplay, if that makes any sense. All you basically do is just level grind your skill tree to get max vitality or aura, max ultimate pool, and use a couple of special moves you can call out on occasion here and there. It doesn't work well at all, to be completely honest. and it just feels lackluster to say the least. Now, there's interesting mechanics at play here, but overall it's just not a good time. So, with all that being said, the gameplay just feels alright. There's a lot of janky mechanics to it, like the rolling is extremely OP and broken, and basically you could dodge a lot of enemies. But on top of that, you have the enemies themselves. They range from pretty easy to beat to complete level divisions. We're talking the division levels of bullet sponges here. It takes forever to take down some of these guys, and it honestly makes me very, very, very upset. When I play a beat 'em up, I need a perfect blend of all of this, and the gameplay doesn't feel satisfying or rewarding to that. Now, of course, playing with the group, the tougher enemies do become a little bit easier, but it still takes a lot to well on them, despite all of us using ultimates and etc. And when playing with the group, the game is extremely easy. Now, yes, there is a way you can amp the difficulty up from Eclipse, but if you have Weiss on your team at all, the game is basically no challenge, considering she has an XXY combo that freezes any enemy in her wake, allowing your teammates to come up and basically destroy them. And it's a pretty overpowered tactic. There's a lot of balancing issues in this game. Single player doesn't feel rewarding or fun because it's obviously way too challenging and not balanced for that type of play. Understandably, I get it's a team-based game, but so are many other beat 'em ups. You still have to balance everything perfectly. And when you're playing with other friends, well, it's not balanced because there's so many broken exploits you find within the game, it's not fun. So with all of that being said, what is the gameplay like? It's like an identity crisis. There's a lot of different things, like when an opponent gets staggered, rather than just doing a hype combo, you just tap RB and your character will run over and do something quick. Now, will give the game credit this. Each character is unique. RWBY, Weiss, Yang, and Blake all have their own unique attributes and interesting varieties in their ultimates and things of that nature, and their attacks do feel rather unique. Same with Team Juniper. I like that they obviously cared about that aspect of the game, but everything else doesn't feel like it, which brings me to level design. Level design is pretty generic and boring. You go from one corridor to the next, although the graphics do make up for it somewhat. The game does look alright, to be completely honest with you. It captures the cell shading and 3D animation of the show pretty well done, and I will give credit for it there. But overall gameplay, with its shallow, repetitive formula, and not even having a grab feature in a beat 'em up in 2017, which is ultimately disappointing, I'm unfortunately going to have to give gameplay here a 4 out of 10. So let's talk about the presentation. The graphics do look quite nice, and the music is of course your typical RWBY affair. Got some nice amping orchestras, and then you get to more guitar riffs and things of that nature, which kind of amp you up for even the most generic of fights. I did not mind these battles at all, and I honestly did not mind what was going on. It was a very fun time, and the music just definitely hits that RWBY spot perfectly. So I will give credit where credit's due. The graphics look nice, and at first it took a little bit getting used to these new character models, but now that time has passed, I am going to say the new character models, at least from the Forever Fall update, are 10 times better than the things we've had before. It captures the show's 2D feel 10 times better, and I honestly enjoy it quite the bit. So the graphics and all that look pretty good. Only downfall is the level design is generic, boring, and overall sloppy. One corridor to the next, one corridor to the next, and one corridor to the next is all you'll be seeing. And then after that, you fight waves upon waves of Grimm. Nothing unique or varies at all in this game. It's the same shallow, repetitive formula we have to face over and over and over again. I'm going to have to unfortunately give the presentation here a 6 out of 10. Thankfully, the graphics and music picked it up from a 4 I was originally going to give it due to shallow level design, but it somewhat pulled itself up because at least the locales are slightly changed a bit. Even though the first level, or I should say towards the end of the game, you could even see levels repeating. Like, one is just a reskin of the first level, only with reddish trees and all of that jazz. It's pretty sad. So overall, how is the overall game after I've covered everything here? I'm not gonna lie, it's gotta be a pretty mediocre score of 4 out of 10, or as I like to call it, wait for a deep steam somersault. Unfortunately, RWBY GrimmEclipse fails on a lot of aspects here. Not only is it a technical mess on PC with random crashes out of nowhere, which has happened to me multiple times, I have logs to prove it, and of course, just repetitive gameplay, not having much fun online with friends, and etc. It overall just feels like a grind, and even getting your characters to max level is just grinding the same levels. Now, Horde mode is added, but it's not as fun because you're doing the same thing you've been doing in campaign, even more so. There's no variety in level design like, say, Gears of War or things of that nature with their Horde modes, where it's just very varied, or even Firefight, or heck, even Vanquish or other Anarchy Reigns and other beat 'em ups of that nature. It's just repetitive, boring, and does not know how to keep my interest in at all, or many others if you check the Steam reviews. It is a shame that they have ported this with such low care without trying to put in any more effort and improve the game and bolster it, but unfortunately this is what they are giving us to work with. Hopefully more updates and patches will come through the future to fix some of the more janky issues and overall make this a 10 times more challenging and interesting game. Although what can you expect from a licensed title? I am going to have to give RWBY GrimmEclipse a 4 out of 10, and I honestly hope to see it get better. As for now, it's one of my biggest disappointments of 2016. Well, 2017, because it technically came out last year, but regardless. I was looking forward to RWBY GrimmEclipse on console, thinking it would get boosted and bolstered, but unfortunately, it didn't meet those expectations at all. And it's just getting more and more disappointing with the entire RWBY franchise as time goes on. Hopefully, we can see things increased in the future, but until then, I'll see you guys next time. Sorry this first review on my channel was extremely negative. I don't really want it to be, but hey, at least I tried to try something new here, and I figured, reviewing one of these brand new games that came out would be a nice little thing. I'm Young Falcon signing out. I'll check you guys up next time. Keep gaming.